Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. Bienvenidos todos a Learn Spanish Fast with Profesor Pablo. How do we learn Spanish? Rápido, rapidísimo. Okay, this is a very important chart I just created. All these materials are in the profesorpablo.com. You can check that out later. But this is the verb matrix for all verb tenses 0 through 9. Imagine, if you would, that there was someone giving a speech, and the speech went on for an hour in Spanish. If you took every single verb that that person spoke and put them in a big hopper and sent them down a chute, kind of like a luggage carousel at the airport, but at the end of the chute, it branches off into 10 more chutes that go down. Each chute is numbered from 0 to 9. That's right. Every single verb that a person giving a speech for 1 hour in Spanish would go in one of those 10 slots. We know that slot 0 is for the infinitive. We know slot 1 is for the present participle, the ing. Slot 2 is the past participle, the ed. Slot 3 is the present tense. Slot 4 is the preterite. Slot 5 is the imperfect. 6 is the future. 7 is the conditional. 8 is the present subjunctive, and 9 is the past subjunctive. Granted, up to this point, we have studied 0 through 5, and we're still working on the imperfect number 5. But what remains, the future is what will happen. It's so easy. The conditional is what you would do or would happen in the future. And then the present subjunctive and the past subjunctive essentially are mirror images of the present and the preterite. So let's take a look here. We want you to see the entire totality of the verbs as we know them in the Spanish language. It's like looking at a globe. You can see the entire planet Earth. You can spin that globe, look at the North Pole, the South Pole, and spin it on its axis and see all the countries go 360 degrees. That is what we're doing with verbs. However, there are many, many countries, there are different continents, etc. But for verbs, again, if you took every verb that a person speaks in an hour-long speech, put them in a hopper, and that chute comes down full of all these verbs, and then at the end, there's another set of 10 chutes, and each verb, depending on what number it is, goes in the appropriate chute. We just want you to understand that the verb concept, the verb system in Spanish is actually very simple. It's not complex at all. So let's take a look at this chart. And I encourage you to stop when you're watching the video at some point, take your cell phone out, take a picture of the chart, and then just put it in your picture file on your phone, on your tablet, and on your computer, and you can have quick reference without having to call up the video. Or just simply go to profesorpablo.com and check out the ebook. All right, look at 0, infinitive. There are no irregulars in the infinitive. Okay, the present participle, the ing, it is also very simple. The ing equivalent in Spanish is ando y yendo. Example, working, trabajando, walking, caminando, talking, hablando, comer, eating, comiendo, right? So doing your ing form in Spanish, it's either ando or yendo. Are there some stem changing verbs? Yes, there are some from E to I, like servir, sirviendo, conseguir, consiguiendo, seguir, siguiendo. The E changes to I. There are not many of those. And then, of course, we have the O to U. We have 2 verbs. Morir, it would be muriendo, dying, like the plant is dying or the tree is dying. El árbol, la planta, se está muriendo. And then we have dormir, to sleep. Está durmiendo. Los niños están durmiendo. The kids are sleeping. Those are your 2 O to U. And then we have Y verbs. There's like reading, leyendo. Remember, we put the Y in because we don't want 3 vowels together. L-E-Y-E-N-D-O. The verb to go, yendo. Está yendo a la tienda. He's going to the store. To be quite honest with you, yendo is legit. It's valid. It's just not used very much at all. For example, people say sometimes, oh, mi hijo está yendo a la universidad. My son is going to the university. most people would say, mi hijo está asistiendo a la universidad, right? My son is attending the university. But yendo is there. You're going to hear it. You may use it. Just make sure you know it. There's building, construyendo, destroying, destruyendo, believing, creyendo. We're not going to go over all the Y verbs and all the stem changing verbs and all these different verb numbers. We're just pointing out a few for you. So we did zero infinitive. There are no irregulars. Present participle, that's the ando yendo form in Spanish, right? Trabajando, working, comiendo, eating. Stem changing SC verbs, we did a few of those like seguir, siguiendo, servir, sirviendo, conseguir, consiguiendo. And then our O to U, muriendo, durmiendo, and the Y verbs, yendo, leyendo, creyendo, construyendo, and destruyendo. You have all this material in prior lessons. Let's go to past participle. In English, the past participle form is the verb ending in ed, like I have finished, I have purchased the house, I have completed my homework. But there are many, many past participles in English that do not end in ed, like they have fought, we have sought a better life, right? I have seen the movie, I have done the homework, he has been fine. So there are all sorts of past participles in English that don't end in ed, but they follow the same function, the same purpose. In Spanish, luckily, 99% of the verbs in the Spanish language are all going to end in ado, ido in the past participle. Much like the present participle, ing, you take the infinitive ending off and add ando, yendo. For number 2, past participle, you take the infinitive ending off and add ado, ido. There are some irregulars, and you see them there. There's like abierto, dicho, escrito, visto, muerto, puesto, hecho, vuelto, devuelto, cubierto, impreso, and descubierto, etc. There are others, but not that many others. But there are others, but not too many. Abierto means opened. Dicho means said. Escrito, written. Visto, seen. Muerto, died. Puesto, put. Hecho, done or made. Vuelto is returned, like a person from point A to point B. Devuelto is returned, like returned an object. You returned an object, right? I have returned it. Lo he devuelto. Cubierto is covered. Impreso is printed. And descubierto is discovered. There are other past participles, but these are the common ones. Now let's go to number 3, the present tense. The present tense is where all the quirkiness happens. That along with the preterite. You can see the thickness. We have 3 lines of odd things that happen in the present tense. Not like in infinitive, no irregulars, no stem change, no problem, right? But the present tense is really important to learn it correctly. There are stem changing SC verbs. SC is an abbreviation for stem changing. We have E to IE, like cerrar, cierro, cierra, cierra, cerramos, and cierran. We know that stem changing verbs in the present tense change in all forms but the nosotros. That's why we use the abbreviation ABN, all but nosotros. Empezar, it goes empiezo, empiezas, empieza, and empiezan. They all change E to IE, but the nosotros, empezamos, does not change. Okay? Let's take a look at the verbs stem changing E to I. Okay, servir, right? It changes in all but nosotros. Sirvo, I serve. Sirves, sirve, and sirven. But the we form is like the infinitive. Servimos. Okay? Seguir, to follow. Sigo, sigue, sigue. Seguimos, siguen. So the E to I stem change, there aren't that many. Pedir, to ask for something. Pido, pides, pide. Pedimos, piden. The E, just like the E to IE, the E to I changes in all but nosotros. And then we have O to UE, like the verb poder. Puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, pueden. Again, puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, pueden. So there are some O to UE stem changing verbs. Not very many, but they're very important. They change all but nosotros. So our stem changing verbs in the present tense, they all change, whatever that change is, it changes in all of the 5 conjugations. It changes in 4 of the conjugations, but not the nosotros. Let's look at the second line. We have go verbs like hago, digo, pongo, salgo, caigo, traigo, right? The go verbs, that only happens in the yo form. The go verb only happens in the yo form. Let's take some ZC verbs. There aren't many. How about to translate? Traduzco. To drive, conduzco. To deserve, merezco. To produce, produzco. The ZC only happens in the yo form. Let's go G to J verbs. Take a verb like recoger, like to pick somebody up at the airport. It's recojo. The G changes to J in the yo form only. Why? Because the verb is recoger. That G in recoger is a soft G. We must maintain the integrity of the verb. So if I left it G, it would be recogo. So we change the G to J to keep it soft. Recojo. All right? Escoger, E-S-C-O-G-E-R, means to choose or to select. Well, the yo form would be with a J. Escojo. What would it be if we didn't change the G to a J? It would be escogo. That's not going to work. So G to J happens in the yo form only, just like the go verbs and the irregulars. Excuse me, just like the go verbs, the ZC verbs, and the G to J verbs all change in the yo form. Now we have our irregular verbs. Estoy, doy, voy, soy, and say. Estoy, voy, soy, doy, and say. Say from saber, estoy from estar, doy from dar, soy from ser, and voy from the verb ir. We also in the present tense have the accented U verbs and accented I verbs. There are only a few, but certainly the verb graduarse is used all the time, especially in the springtime for graduation. Graduarse, when does that accented U happen? When does the accented I happen? All but nosotros. So when we're talking about the stem changing verbs E to IE, E to I, and O to UE, talking about the accented U and the accented I, when do they happen? All but nosotros. That's a nice pattern that exists. Now, the accented U, let's take graduarse. It's reflexive. I graduate would be me graduo. You graduate, te graduas. He or she se gradua. They se gradúan. But the we form, right, it doesn't have the accented U. It's graduamos, graduamos. Continuar, to continue. Continuo with an accent. Continuas with an accent. Continua with an accent. Continuamos, no accent. And continúan with an accent. Good. Now those accent marks there, what are they doing? They're breaking up a diphthong. That's why we're using it. Let's take the verb enviar, accented I verb, to send. Envío has an accent on the I. Envías on the I. Envía on the I to break up the diphthong. And then the we form, enviamos, there is no accent mark. And then, of course, the they form, envían, accent on the I. They change in all but nosotros. Take another look at the present tense, because when we get to the present subjunctive, we're going to find out the present subjunctive, verb number 8, it is based on the yo form of the present tense. So all your go verbs, all your ZC verbs, all your stem changing verbs, the G to J, all of those are going to show up in the yo form in the present tense. And that is the foundation. That is the basis, not only for number 8, the present subjunctive, but we're going to find out it's the foundation for formal commands when you give an usted person a command to do or not do something. Also, when you tell a friend not to do something, a negative command, it's all based on the yo present tense form. Okay? And guess what? When you tell a friend to do something, a command to a friend, a positive command, the to command, the familiar command, all that is the LA form of the present tense. So if you know the present tense without realizing it, you know already you know how to give commands to any group of people, to a group of people, to a friend, to somebody you're on a last name basis with. So I'm telling you, the present tense is critical. Knowing the present tense is going to allow you to use the present subjunctive correctly and easily, and it's going to allow you to do all the commands in the Spanish language. Even a we command like let's take the verb like let's do something. Okay, the hago is the go form of the present tense. of hacer, hago? Well, once you take hago, we're going to find out for the present subjunctive, ER and IR verbs, you change that O at the end to an A. That gives you haga. Now, that's the usted command. Tell your friend to do it. I'm not your friend, but an usted person. Hágalo. Tell a group of people to do it. All you do is take the haga and put an N. No exception. So do it to a group of kids. Háganlo. If you want to say don't do it to an usted person, no lo haga. Don't do it to a group of people, no lo hagan. Now, guess what? If you want to say don't do it to a friend, you're going to take haga. I told you, it's all based on the yo form of the present tense. You're going to take hago, change it to the opposite vowel, which is A, and put an S on the end of it. No lo hagas. We have not done commands yet. But when we get to commands, you're going to say, goodness gracious, we already know this. So don't ever underestimate the power of the present tense. The present tense will help you do all your commands and will help you do the entire present subjunctive verb number 8. And remember, verb numbers 8 and 9 show a high level of sophistication, skill, talent, ability in the Spanish language. If you don't get to the present subjunctive 8 or the past subjunctive 9, your Spanish is going to be at best intermediate. All right, let's go to preterite. Now look at preterite. That's a big chunk as well. We've got 3 lines of odd things that happen, quirky things that happen. Are there stem changing verbs in the preterite? Yes, we have E to I. Like, let's go with servir. Serví, servir, serviste, sirvió, servimos, sirvieron. So servir would be sirvió and sirvieron. They change, right? When do they change? They change in the L in the ellos. We're going to find out that our changes for stem changing verbs in the preterite, unlike the present, now they change in the L and ellos form. In the present tense, when we have a stem changing or an accented U or an accented I, hey, they change in all but nosotros. So let's go back to the preterite. We did a couple of examples. Well, let's do a second one. Seguir means to continue. If I want to tell someone in the preterite, like he continued, siguió. Okay, they continued down the same street, siguieron por el mismo camino, or calle. So E to I stem change, there aren't many. Like to get, conseguir. She got the tickets, consiguió. They got the tickets, consiguieron los boletos. The E to I stem changing, there are not many. Pedir is another big one. He asked for, let's say it's Christmas time or a holiday time, a birthday gift or whatever it may be, a graduation gift. And if you ask someone what they would like and they tell you, that's modest, that's humble, nothing wrong with that. Okay, say he asked for money. Pidió dinero. Pedir, the E changes to I. She asked for some earrings. Pidió unos pendientes or pidió unos aretes. How about they asked for? They asked for a lot of things. Pidieron muchas cosas. So that's your E to I in the preterite. O to U in the preterite. Let's go back to dormir and morir. Okay, let's do dormir. He slept, durmió. They slept, durmieron. This should sound familiar. It should ring a bell, hopefully loud. If not, at least softly, because we've done these. How about morir? It died, murió. They died, murieron. They changed in the L, ellos only. Now the J verbs. The J verbs, they change in all forms. Let's take a verb like decir. Dije, dijiste, dijo, dijimos, dijeron. That J is going to be there all the way. Why? Because if you left it, decir as a C, then it would be dico. It wouldn't work. You need the J, otherwise we don't have the soft sound of decir. Let's take the verb traer. Traje, trajiste, trajo, trajimos, trajeron. So the J verbs, they change in all forms. How about the Y verbs? Well, they change only in el, ellos. Our most common Y verb is leer. He read leyó, L-E-Y-O, accent on the O to avoid those 3 vowels together. They read leyeron, L-E-Y-E-R-O-N. And again, the Y verbs only change in the L and ellos. Another example, he built, construyó, accent on the O. They built, construyeron, both with a Y. Okay? Let's go with our car, gar, zar verbs. We know that the car, gar, zar verbs only has a change in the O form. The rest of the verb, treat it like a regular verb in the preterite. Like, take the verb car, gar, zar. Okay, tocar, like to play the guitar. Toqué, I played the guitar. It's with a Q-U-E. Jugar, I played football. Jugué fútbol americano. Zar, I started early. Empecé, C-E, tarde or temprano. I started early. Empecé temprano. I started late. Empecé tarde. So your verbs that end in car, like practicar, I practiced. In the yo form, it's going to be practiqué with a Q-U-E accent. Gar verbs, all right, it's going to be jugué, J-U-G-U-E accent. And zar verbs, it's going to be C-E accent. They change only in the yo form. And then we have our irregular preterite verbs, right? We have a lot of those. We have like estuve, estuviste, hice, hiciste, pude, pudiste, quise, quisiste, tuve, tuviste. We've studied those. This is not to read all the irregular verbs. But now you're finding out what is happening in all these different verb tenses. Now in the imperfect, which we're currently studying, we learned that there are only 3 irregulars. There are no stem changing. There's no G to J. There's no J verbs. None of that stuff. It's just 3 irregulars. Ser, ir, and ver. Ser, it's era, right? Like we were friends, éramos amigos. Ir, we used to go to the beach, íbamos a la playa. And ver, I watched a lot of TV when I was a kid. Cuando era niño, veía mucha televisión. That's it for the imperfect. Simple. Future, there are some irregular verbs. You see them there. But how do you form the future? We're going to find out. You take the infinitive and you're going to add the ending. For example, the verb llover. It will rain. It'll be simply one word. Lloverá. Accent on the A. These are the irregulars. Desear, hacer, caber, and so on. Look at the conditional. The future is will. The conditional is would. What you would do today, later today, tomorrow, next week, or way off in the future. That is a conditional tense. And you take the infinitive and you add ia. Can you believe that? Ia, ias, ia, iamos, ian. It's the same ending we use for the imperfect er and ir verbs in verb tense number 5. So if I wanted to say I would buy, compraría. Ir, I would go, iría. It would rain, llovería. It's such an easy tense. Future and conditional, you just take the infinitive and you put on the appropriate endings, and there are a few irregulars. But the ones irregular in the future are also the same irregular in the conditional. And this is a list, not exclusive list. There are a few others, but not many others. These are the common ones that you want to master. Now we get to 8 and 9, the present and the past subjunctive. The present subjunctive is a verb tense that you don't use by itself. It's got to have, imagine if you're towing a trailer down the road. You need a vehicle towing the trailer, you need a trailer hitch, and then the trailer. Well, in the analogy, the vehicle towing the trailer for the present subjunctive, we're going to find out it's going to be something out of number 3, the present tense. Like I want you to help me. It would be quiero que, the trailer hitch is que, me, and then ayudar, instead of ayudas in the present tense, you're going to go opposite vowel. We're going to learn that opposite vowel is E for AR verbs. So I want you to help me. Quiero que me ayudes. All right? Let's take the verb decir. Remember, the present subjunctive is based on the yo form. If something quirky happens in the present tense yo form, it's going to happen in the present subjunctive. Remember, they are a mirror image of each other. Let's take decir. The yo form of decir in the present is digo, I say or I tell. If I want to say, I want you to tell the truth, quiero is our vehicle, que is the trailer hitch, and digas is the verb in the subjunctive. Quiero que digas la verdad. Subjunctive sentences are 3-part. There's the vehicle that's towing the trailer at the end, and what holds them together and brings them together is the word que, no accent. So the present subjunctive, if you know the present tense, yo forms, then you know the present subjunctive. Now the past subjunctive, how do you form the past subjunctive? Well, let's go back to present subjunctive. Are there some irregulars? Yes, right there. Vaya, esté, de, sepa, and sea. Example, I want you to go to the store. Quiero que vayas a la tienda. Let's take esté. I want you to be here tomorrow. Quiero que estés aquí mañana. I want you to give her the money. Quiero que le des el dinero. I want you to know this. Quiero que sepas esto, and I want you to be good. to a young boy. Quiero que seas bueno. There are only those 5 irregulars in the present subjunctive. There is one other, haya, H-A-Y-A, but we'll study that when we study the verb haber. So the present subjunctive, to do it correctly, all you need to know is the present tense. If you know the present tense, you know the present subjunctive. If you know the present tense, you know the commands. You can take a command and get to the present subjunctive. For example, tell him to come to the party. Dile, that's your vehicle. K, that's your trailer hitch. And then benga. You take bengo in the present tense. It's an IR verb. Change that O to A, which is the opposite vowel for ER and IR verbs. Dile que venga a la fiesta. Spanish is easy, and I'm showing you this to show you that this is our globe. This is the world map. This is our universe. It's all right here on one sheet of paper. Past subjunctive, same as the preterite. If you know the preterite, you know the past subjunctive. How do you conjugate in the past subjunctive? All you do is you take the ellos form. There are no exceptions. So, all right, ellos form, right? Let's take venir. Venir, we know it's an irregular preterite. So the they form would be vinieron, vinieron. You take the ellos form of the preterite. When you get to the ellos form, that last O at the end of the word, whatever word it is, no exceptions. Vinieron, change that O to an A. Now you have vinieran. Okay? I was hoping they would come to the party. How do you get to a 9? Well, you either use a 4 or a 5 to get to a 9. So let's take a 5, imperfect. I was hoping. Esperaba que vinieran a la fiesta. Now, once you know vinieran, how do you think you get the 2 form? Change the N, swap it out for the letter S. I was hoping you would come to the party. Esperaba que vinieras a la fiesta. If I want to say they were hoping I would come to the party, it would be imperfect. Esperaban que yo viniera a la fiesta. So I am so excited, and this is really critical. If you're serious about Spanish and you want to be able to communicate at the highest level in Spanish language, these are the tips, tricks, and tools. Everything that's quirky about the Spanish language is on this one sheet right here, the Verb Matrix. Go over these periodically and look at this sheet. It summarizes all the crazy things that go on in all the different tenses. We know the infinitive, 0. That is so very easy. We have the present participle, the ing, the past participle, the ed. Then we have the present tense. We have the preterite. We have the imperfect. We have the future, the conditional, present, and past subjunctive. Again, if you know present, you know present subjunctive. So those are off the board. That leaves 8 others. If you know the preterite, you know the past subjunctive. Now that takes 4 of the 10 off the board. Well, we all know the infinitives, right? We all know the present participle, the ando, yendo. We know how to do the aldo, ido. So what is there that's left? The future and the conditional. The future is will. Like we will go to the party. Iremos a la fiesta. You take the infinitive and you add the future ending for all verbs, AR, ER, and IR. And there are a few irregulars. The conditional are done just like the future. You take the infinitive and you add ia, ias, ia, iamos, ion. And there are some irregulars. So that's it. So like I said before, imagine if there were a truffula tree like in Dr. Seuss, and somebody were speaking, and the tree starts out with bare limbs. And as a person speaks, imagine limbs sprouting out and different colored, beautiful 8, 9, 10 different colored fruits grow on this truffula tree. After the person is speaking, you pick all those different 10 colored fruits, put them in a hopper, and then each colored fruit is either going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Every time. Example, if I want to say, it has been raining. Well, there are 3 verbs there, aren't there? It has, well, that's present tense. You know it's not it had, it has, that's present tense. That's not will, it's not would, it's not a subjunctive, right? Okay, it has, that's present tense. So that's the verb haber, which we're just about to study. That would be ha, been, well, that's a past participle, number 2. That's the verb estar, so it's going to be estado. Ha estado, raining, well, that's an ing, lloviendo. Ha estado lloviendo. So that phrase, ha estado lloviendo, that branch with 3 fruit on it in the truffle tree. We pick those 3 fruits and we put them in the proper hopper, and we have a present 3. Estado is a 2, past participle 2, and then we have raining, the ing, that's a 1. So our verb number would be 3, 2, 1. Let the numbers work for you. Anything that ends in ing is going to be a 1. I'll explain. Like I could say it started raining, but in Spanish, empezó a llover. We're going to learn that after a preposition, a, en, de, por, para, al, con, sin, those are followed by an infinitive always, even if they translate back into English in the ing form. Again, it started raining in English, empezó a llover in Spanish. Now in English, you could say it started to rain or it started raining. Either of those would be empezó a llover. So we can identify the verbs 0 through 9. If you know 3, you know 8. If you know 4, you know 9. 6 and 7 are a piece of cake. Infinitive, simple. Present participle 1, the ing, 2, the ado, ido, ed. And the imperfect in the preterite. Remember, if you say something and you identify it as in past, like the car broke down, now think about it. It's either going to be preterite or imperfect. We tell you that preterite is a completed past action, and the imperfect in a general way is an incomplete past action. If I say the car broke down, well, it's over, it happened, it's done. That would be preterite. El carro se descompuso. If I want to say the car would always break down, well, I'm not referring to one time. I'm saying like it would always happen repeatedly in the past. El carro siempre se descomponía. So when you get to preterite and imperfect, we've taught about preterite separately. We're teaching about imperfect separately, but we haven't contrasted preterite or imperfect. We will give you many, many examples, after which you're going to have a very good grip, like automatically, okay, that's preterite and that one's imperfect. Okay, so there you have it. That is the globe. Spin it, turn it, throw it, toss it, do whatever you want with it. This is our globe in Spanish. This is everything odd that can happen to a verb in the Spanish language. Okay, that's it for now. Gracias. Hasta pronto. Tengan un gran día. Nos vemos pronto. See you soon. Adios.